Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we are discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 23, Family Business. Quark and Rom try to get their mother Ishka to surrender her prophet in line with traditional Ferengi values.
So another Ferengi episode about a woman who doesn't want to be bound by the constraints of Ferengi culture.
Yeah, it's odd that 100% of the Ferengi females have outright disagreed with how Ferengi females are treated. And at the same time, the way they're treated is completely ridiculous and outlandish.
Yeah.
You could almost call it a plot problem.
I thought this episode was going to be about the writers trying to correct this. I thought this would kick off some sort of civil rights thing, and then she would end up in a huge law thing, and then it would disrupt Ferengi culture. Quark has that line in the beginning, it's the end of Ferengi civilization as we know it. And I thought that would be a prophetic line, and that this would lead to that, but then none of that happened.
Yeah, that would be a good thing if they fixed the glaring problems with how the Ferengi are designed. Okay, so the nude female Ferengi thing was brought up because originally the Ferengis were kind of a goofy bad guy, and they were kind of outrageously sexist for both evil and silly reasons, I think. I don't know exactly what they were going for, but it now they've developed into a real, well, not real, it's fiction, but a more fleshed out species.
Oh, you shouldn't use the word flesh. Sorry.
Okay, well, it's just, it comes off as just weird and awkward, super awkward. I thought this episode was way uncomfortable.
Terribly awkward. So they weren't correcting a mistake they made a long time ago. They doubled down on it.
Yeah, we didn't need to see this to understand that this situation would be incredibly awful and kind of creepy, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see kind of why they thought it would be funny for Quark to demand his mother to undress, but then when it actually happens, it's really uncomfortable.
Yes, this is maybe something that worked better as a concept than as something put into practice. At the same time, they did handle it as tastefully as they could, I guess. Like, it wasn't completely awkward all the time. It was a bit of an awkwardness roller coaster.
I could have done without the scene where Moogie says, "But only for you," and then undresses.
Oh, for Rom, yeah. Ugh.
One, that's terribly uncomfortable, and two, her character abandons the what she stands for.
Yeah, I'm not sure they knew where to go with this sort of thing.
It did lead to a tussle between Quark and Rom, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Rom pulled some strings. He had a nice few little rants here and there. I mean, the episode was generally a good idea, I'd say, or at least the plot was kind of creative. We had a Liquidator Brunt show up, who is Jeffrey Combs. He's always good. He's been in it before.
You've mentioned that guy's name, haven't you?
He
That's
shows
ringing
up.
A bell.
He shows up a lot. He was the guy trying to get the hollow image of Kira.
Oh, okay. One thing I will praise about this episode, I loved seeing that part of Ferengi culture where they expect bribes for anything.
Oh, that was brilliant. They've got little bribe boxes set up or tip boxes. Almost like you have charity tins on a a shop counter where you put your change. They just have them in their house and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great piece of world building right there.
It fits. I like him bartering for the chance to sit down on the chair.
Yeah, that's a nice moment.
Especially the stairs were deliberately really steep so that you'd be knackered at the top. It was good to see a bit more about Quark and Rom's background and their father, who sucked at business.
Yeah, didn't have the lobes for it.
Yep, didn't have the earballs.
Oh, thank goodness there was no lobe caressing in this Ferengi-focused episode.
Well, yeah, it would have been totally inappropriate. Contextually, that would have been 100% wrong. I mean, this episode was already in the high upper quartiles of rank, but that would have put it over the limit.
When Moogie is revealed to be this extraordinarily good profit maker, I was expecting some sort of rant in the realm of Breaking Bad where she would talk about how she's the danger or she's the one that knocks. She kept talking about how great she is at it. I wanted her to say how she's not in danger. Just anything for me to loosely connect it to Breaking Bad.
Well, Liquidator Brunt comes in and she says, "Say my name." Moogie? Yeah, you're goddamn right. There was a B plot here, and it wasn't about the Ferengi, which was nice.
Yeah, nice to escape some of the more awkward moments.
Yeah, it's like holding your breath and then finally being able to breathe again, but you know you're going to have to hold your breath again in a minute.
I had a good laugh when Bashir throws O'Brien under the bus and reveals, "Oh, Chief told me." And then O'Brien has this slow turn and gives Bashir this incredulous look. It's really funny.
When they're trying to break... Yeah. What? I have real issues with that scene where they're trying to break into the bar.
Oh, it bothers you that Odo is overseeing an act of breaking and entering?
Well, yes, and then even Cisco turns up and says, "Ah, I see you're breaking into our citizens' private premises. That's good.
Yeah.
Have fun with that."
Oh, you guys.
But even more than that, there is a much, much easier way to get the dartboard out.
Transport it?
They're freaking transporters. Transport someone in there and take the dartboard. I don't know why they bother locking doors. I could understand that you lock your quarters if you don't want someone to come in or whatnot, but a super secure lock in a world with teleporters?
It prevents common thieves who don't have access to teleporters.
Well, yeah, but generally most people seem to have access to them. Like, the access doesn't seem to be extremely restricted or anything.
Yeah.
So I wrote down that scene, whilst funny, was completely confusing. And if anyone should have access to transporters, it's Chief O'Brien, the former transporter chief of the Enterprise.
Maybe his moral compass doesn't allow him to use transporters, but it allows him to break locks. That scene doesn't make any sense, though, so that's fair.
It was a much-needed comedy breath of fresh air. I have another criticism as well.
Go on.
It's about baseball again.
Uh-oh.
So Cassidy Yates says her cousin, is it her cousin?
I think so. Cousin or brother.
Her relation, who was not important enough for me to remember what the relation was, knackered their body part from some injury. You see, I haven't really recalled exactly what she said.
Sliding into second.
But yeah, he was doing something called sliding into second. But would you say that?
It's sliding into home would make more sense.
Well, no, it makes sense because we live in a world with baseball. But if you were playing a sport from 400 years ago and did something, you wouldn't then tell someone, blankly in the terminology of that sport and not offer an explanation.
No, that's not what people would do.
Yeah, but then Cisco says, "Oh wow, you like baseball. I also like baseball." But if he didn't like baseball, he would have just sat staring at her. What does that mean? I don't understand. And second of all, why is baseball unpopular? It's a fun sport. Why? Like random people are just playing it for fun. Why would people stop playing baseball?
The great baseball shortage of some year.
Oh, what, 2033 to 2473?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay. It's just so stupid that baseball is such a dead sport, yet at the same time, people would just pick it up and start playing it.
Out of nowhere. For no reason.
Yeah.
Another thing about that scene, this doesn't bother me because people say this, but it's always funny to me. She says, "I didn't know you like baseball." Well, why would you? It's not written on his face. You can't look at someone and, oh, he likes baseball. I guess if they're wearing a baseball cap and wearing a baseball uniform, but people say that for the oddest things.
And they have baseball tattooed across their face.
I love baseball.
Yeah, then she'd be justified in saying, "I had a hunch that you might like baseball." But yeah, if you frame it in the context of something 400 years old...
Yeah, it's even worse.
Like, oh, I didn't know you liked jousting.
I should have known,
no
based on nothing.
Yes. And it's silly because she knows very little about him anyway.
Yeah, you just met this guy. Oh, I already had you figured out. I should have known you like baseball. Silly me.
I have no idea what your preferences are, and it's very unlikely you would like this anyway, but I didn't know you liked it. Well, the Cassidy Yates Cisco stuff, whilst being slightly clunky, I felt they had a bit of chemistry there.
Oh yeah, as much as I'm making fun of it, I thought they had a good connection there.
Cisco was muddled and confused when talking to her for the first time. It's good to see him get a bit flustered because usually he's just so detached and manipulative, so he just pushes people around, but he talks to her and she just tells him to basically get out of the way. He's like, "Oh, okay."
It's not often a psychopath is rattled.
Maybe it will help him come out of his psychopathic turmoil.
I did like the bits of continuity in this episode. So we had Cisco being set up, which Jake mentioned before. We heard about Nog, that he's studying for Starfleet. So that's neat that they are continuing with that stuff and not leaving it behind.
Yeah, they do that well certainly with the Cisco family. For example, in the past, Jake said he was dating a Dabo girl quite a few episodes before she came out to dinner, and then later on he said he broke up with her. It's such a small throwaway thing to just connect them up because it keeps the episodes free to be watched in any order without being too confusing. But at the same time, it fits into sort of an evolving storyline. So that was good of them. And it's good with Cassidy Yates here as well.
Yeah, it helps it feel more organic in that these are a bunch of people living on a station and things are happening and it's all fluid and it's not separated into neat little chunks.
Yeah, well, it's just good that anything that happens in an episode affects them later on.
Yeah, there's not a reset button hit all the time.
Biggest offender, I think, so far is when Dax found out she had a killer in her past, and that has just not been mentioned since.
Oh well.
At the end of the episode, she was like, "Oh, I'm really going to struggle with this." Well,
never mind.
Apparently for not very long, because she seems fine now. So it's good that they connect things up. Just anything, any continuity between episodes is appreciated.
Yeah, not just major stuff. The tiny little remarks as well. How do you feel about Quark's mom?
She's good. I mean, it's not her character's fault that the situation is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And given that situation, she's a strong and forthright character, which is good. It would have been complete rubbish if she'd just been subservient about stuff.
Yeah.
Which presumably most Ferengi females would be, according to how their society works.
Yet the two we've seen do not follow the rules at all.
Well, I can't imagine a society with spaceships would work like that, but never mind. No, Ishka's pretty good. It makes sense that Quark's mom is as stubborn as he is, and as crafty, at least.
Yeah, I like seeing those common traits between them.
See, without this whole nude female oppression society stuff, this episode could have been really fun and not so awkward. I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad. I mean, it's good that they took this daft aspect of the Ferengi and turned it into a analysis of sexism, but at the same time, it's so just wacky and inconsistent that it's hard to take it seriously.
If not impossible to take it seriously. And that's why I wanted this to be a grand reversal, a rewrite of Ferengi female culture. And I was disappointed that she took this principled stance in the beginning and then she drops it.
Yeah, I don't know where else they could have gone with it, though. Obviously, Quark can't get ruined, and the rules they set up were too strict for any other wiggle room. But she didn't drop it entirely. She gave up a third of her profits.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Quark did point out what would happen if she did take it further. He would be ruined and no one would ever do business with him.
It's too much. I don't know, it's kind of like a plot wall. It was just resolved through character drama. There was no clever solution, which is a shame because a clever solution would have been nicer, I think, because it would have allowed Ishka to stand up for her values, and at the same time, it would have been in line with the Ferengi being sneaky.
Maybe some old law people forgot about, she discovers. I don't know. That's probably terrible. I just thought of that right now.
Well, yeah, the old law trope. Oh, yeah. Person who is the tallest is always right.
We've been looking at this page upside down this whole time.
Oh, funny that my team of lawyers couldn't figure it out, but me looking at an old law book in the library for 5 minutes got it. It's right here on page 7. Well, okay, in terms of sexism, I think the resolution in this episode was probably pretty decent because the fight against sexism is definitely one of attrition or erosion. It's not like sexism was fixed in 1988 or something, and now we live in a non-sexist world.
Right.
Things get better, but it's rare that there's a leap in quality of life for people. It's much more just that the oppressors get ground down over time, or more likely they get old and die, and the next generation is slightly less crappy.
Yeah, progress is really gradual.
So in that sense, what Ishka did actually makes sense. She couldn't win this fight, and she couldn't fix Ferengi sexism by herself in one episode. Or if she had, that would have made the already dodgy representation of sexism in Ferengi society turn into an absolute farce.
Yeah, that's too much to ask. But I do like that they are creating this sense that there is unrest in the female Ferengi population. This is the second time we've seen a female Ferengi not agreeing with the status quo. And at least we have that. So they're not all subservient and going along with this.
Well, yeah, which makes sense because they've got spaceships. It's stupid from a business acumen point of view. Why would you suppress half your workforce?
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know. I'm just happy the episode is over so we can get to the next one.
Yes.
I would say it's good that an episode that's analysing sexism was uncomfortable because people should be uncomfortable about sexism, but I don't think that's why it was uncomfortable.
No. It was uncomfortable for entirely different reasons.
Yeah, because of hot moms. Okay, anyway, do you have a quote?
Yes. My house is my house, as are its contents.
A traditional Ferengi greeting, as spoken by Brunt and Quark.
Yeah, spoken by two characters, but I thought I would combine it. It sounds like one statement.
I like it when they put little bits in that are customary, little phrases, little turns of phrase or idioms that are unique to a specific race because it makes sense they would have them.
Right. And I enjoy that they both sounded kind of bored when they said it because this is something they would say all the time. So it would just be rote and they wouldn't necessarily even think about what they're saying.
Yeah, it's a pure formality with no real emotional content behind it.
Even though I have criticized the Ferengi stuff when it mirrors Earth stuff too closely, this is obviously my house is your house. It's making fun of that. And also, what's mine is yours. They're making fun of that.
It wasn't too obvious they were directly parodying an Earth statement there, or at least it didn't hit me that way initially. So, yeah, no, it's good. I give them 8 out of 10 for this one.
Yeah, maybe that's why it worked so well. It wasn't so obvious.
Well, what was the bad phrasing we saw before? It was when they do something like "home is where the heart is," and the Latinum.
Yeah, where they just tack it on.
Yeah, that's no good. That's just rubbish.
Never put the cart before the horse. Also Latinum.
That doesn't make sense. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Ferengi. Okay, I think we're done with this silly Ferengi episode. Let's move onwards and see where our next space adventure takes us.
Let's hope it's significantly less nude.
But nudity is so funny and hard. Yeah, no, I agree.
Bye.
Goodbye.